What's up, guys? So I wanted to make this video and to make it rather quickly. So if you know, I made a video reacting to some of my old music, which was still around 2 years ago, and I just kind of dissected down the mistakes I used to make. And on top of that, I wrote a Reddit post, kind of, how do you say, subtracting key mistakes to the 9 elements that I did wrong. So I wanted to make this video maybe going a little bit in depth into each concept and the philosophy, what I mean by that. So yeah, these are going to be 9 things that you should look after as a beginner, particularly writing orchestral or epic cinematic music. So yeah, I'm just gonna go into it and get to the juice I wanted to say. So first concept is copy pasting, and you should definitely be cautious with that. And this is a mistake I used to make a lot, is just taking one pattern and copy pasting it throughout the piece, or throughout how you say, entire section. And there's this good rule that's called never repeat the thing 3 times completely. It really depends on the arrangement, on the composition. Sometimes you feel like repetition should continue and not much change should happen. It really depends on the situation, but as a general rule of thumb, yeah, when writing particularly different sections, different parts, keep in mind not to copy paste too much. And even if you copy paste, change it a little bit. You can you can introduce changes in a simple way. Like, let's say you're writing a bass melody, right? And your bass, your cellos, or maybe double bass are playing basses, and they just follow the root notes throughout the pattern. How they say, they go up, go down, whatever it is. They repeat it twice, and instead of doing the same thing again, you can introduce just a little pause in between, or like even the rhythmic variation is variation. Any variation is variation. So yeah, keep things in context, but don't be lazy to introduce changes. Second mistake I used to make is making the registers clash a lot. So I assume that how do you say, to make music sound good, like it was when I started, I thought it was like, man, I need to learn these techniques, compression, reverb, delay, all these kind of things. I thought I kind of relied on them to make my sound great. I'm gonna go into that in one of the other points, but here particularly, what is really important in general writing music is the idea of separation and idea of space. So when you don't have space between one instrument to another, they're just gonna clash in the frequency spectrum, and you won't be able to hear either of the instruments properly, and either of the instruments won't have the impact it's supposed to be. And a simple variation in taking the instrument higher or lower could make a significant change. So look out for these things. Third mistake I used to make, I used to harmonize too many thirds. And the idea was, I was thinking, okay, I'm just taking a chord, and I knew about the concept of layering, so I just put more sounds in. Put more sounds in, kind of, so that I have a chord progression. You have 3 notes, first, third, and eighth, not eighth, perfect fifth. Yeah, perfect fifth, third, and first. I don't know why I said eighth. Probably because there's 8 semitones in between. Anyway, so yeah, if you study harmony a little bit, you realize that there's a really big how do you say, there's a really big chance to mess around with your composition if you add too many overtones and if you add too many thirds, because third sound is way more distinguishable from first and fifth in the context of the harmony and the context of the whole arrangement. So if you add too many thirds, it will that there will be too many overtones, and the sound will sound weird and uncompelling, and it won't have the emotional impact. So how you can overcome is just trying to layer the sounds, but layering them in the right way. And by that I mean trying to layer the most. So and particularly in the low parts, of this, like in the lowest ranges, keep the distance, between each notes. It's quite probably complicated concept if you are just a beginner, but keep in mind, just the lower you get, the more space you need for each note. So if you're playing bass notes, it's best to play them in octaves, and then higher you go, you can introduce fifths and later on thirds, or even seconds, or whatever it is. Yeah, so the key point is don't over harmonize thirds and keep your overtones. Well, why am I even explaining this so much? If you really want to understand it, just Google it. You will find your answer. The fourth mistake I wanted to make is using too many effects: reverb, delay, compression. So what I used to do is to I wouldn't say I use it too much. I probably use too much compression a lot. I didn't use delay at all, or use it differently. Yeah, and I used it, but I think my problem wasn't the fact that I used it too much. It was just the fact that I used it wrong. And I kind of relied on compression sometimes, or reverb, to make my sound great. And later on, the more you compose, you realize kind of that the sound has to be great already before you apply any effects or any reverb. Right now, when I'm writing music, I usually do use a little bit compression if I need to in the process of writing and mixing, but I always leave delay reverb for last. So if my song doesn't sound great, or good to the extent I want it to sound, I usually leave it. I usually feel like I still something is not right, and yeah, I just use reverb last, kind of a thing, before I kind of finish up the production, for me personally. And I think this really works well in the cinematic music. Second point was just music is uncompelling and boring. So that's the fifth mistake. Music is uncompelling and boring. By that I mean that copy pasting stands a lot here. If you use too much copy pasting, it will sound like that. But another thing is just in general being lazy to write something interesting. Just taking one progression and making it the whole piece. I'm not saying that sometimes it doesn't work. It does work, in some cases, but you shouldn't be lazy to write something that you like. And you can make music from boring to interesting quite simply, just introducing those changes that I talked about. Every 2 bars, little change, particularly talking about them melodies. How you can really destroy your music, I think, is just copy pasting your main melody and not changing it at all. It would just sound like a loop, but even this loop will not be compelling, and people just won't listen. Second mistake was lack of understanding when creating tension and releasing. This one is kind of difficult to understand. It has a lot to do with structure of the arrangement and with harmony sometimes. This is something that becomes second nature to you. I'm not saying I'm an expert in this myself, but the more you compose, the better you get. Even now, when I'm composing more and more, I get these things naturally. You don't think about creating tension or releasing tension. It just you kind of just write the music the best of your ability, and it kind of happens on its own. But a great way to create tension is to distinguish your parts. separate them, know that okay, this is intro part, this is build up, this is the chorus or climax. And when you do have that in your arrangement, it will be easier to like distinguish different dynamic, how do you say, different dynamic separation. So you will know that the most dynamic and the most, you know, exciting part of the song will be your chorus or climax. And you need that, okay, verses is not gonna be, but how can I build up so it's not like the change isn't like this, you know, it's not like he jumps on the, like it's a continuous growth towards that part, you know. So yeah, by distinguishing sections by sections, you will get used to, you know, automatically to raise tension, use a lot of things like risers, like all these kind of elements comes into consideration. But yeah, just keep in mind the structures can be very important. And actually the next point 7, the seventh mistake I used to make was structure and arrangement. So that kind of, yeah, it's kind of the same thing more or less, but I had written down that what helped me to get to here is to analyze songs in depth that you love to listen to. Sit down with a piece of paper, write down structurally what's going on, what parts come in, change in chords, everything is in much detail as possible. Try to apply those techniques on your own. This part is very important, will take you to the next level. Yeah, so this concept that has really helped me personally. I think this is one of the like things that propelled me to grow the most. It's just like structurally and like analytically, in any way possible, analyzing song that you want your song to be. So if you're like a fan of epic music, maybe Two Steps from Hell is something you should listen to and really analyze what's going on. And I don't mean just like listen just the sake of listen. I mean analyze everything. Okay, this is intro part, this is build up, this is climax 1, this, that. You write, first of all, structurally you analyze that. Then you write down, okay, what instruments are playing in the intro part? Okay, what comes in there? What moves here? What happens there? When you analyze a song in this way, you kind of get a grasp of things in terms of like there's patterns, you know, and you get used to those patterns. And yeah, I think this is probably the best tip out of this whole video. If you're able just to do that, if you sit down, do that, and apply those things you see and learn, you will write way better and way more compelling music. Yeah, next point is the lack of effort. Yeah, I did that. I kind of felt discouraged by the fact that my music wasn't sounding the way I wanted to sound, and I do have that too right now. Like when I'm listening, I'm like thinking, "Fuck, my music is shit. I will never be able to write anything great." That's a kind of self-doubt talking in you, and that's always gonna happen. You just try not to listen to that part of yourself, and yeah, just try your best. You know, just keep trying your best and don't give up. I know it's cheesy, but just don't give up. Don't settle for, you know, for something great that you could be, or for something great that you create. You know, usually when I'm writing and I feel like, oh, the song is shit, the song is shit, and I want to give up. I want to kind of leave it. But if I continue to, yeah, I found this moment of click. Like not always, but sometimes I do find this moment of click where like all that work pays off. Like, yeah, I found this part I was looking for, or something fixed itself. Yeah, just don't give up. And when you're composing, put all your effort. I think you're not setting yourself in the practice to grow the most if you're not doing all in, if that makes sense. Okay, so the next 9th point is to listen to more music in general. Yeah, listen to more music. It's the same. It kind of correlates towards the point I made before by analyzing, but listening to more music in general will get your ears tuned to the things that are happening, and you will be able to analyze critically, in a sense. Um, yeah, just listen to a song you love, music you love, and take notes like time to time catch yourself what's happening, what's going on, why I like this song. Yeah, it's quite simple, but getting your just listening to a lot of music, and maybe you can even switch up genres. Maybe try some classical, maybe some jazz, maybe some rock. Switch things up. I think listening to music will tune into the elements that you love about music, and you will be able to incorporate those elements in your own music. So you will develop your own style and the things you like in the process. There was usually 9 points, and that was it. But I want to add one more thing, which is very kind of important, is the production. And why production is important is because if you won't be able to make your music listenable, no one will listen to it. Doesn't matter if it's a great composition or not. And even now, myself, I think my weakest part of my music is my production, and I'm still kind of learning a lot. But I realize that a lot of production comes down to volume balancing, and getting volume right will make your mixes way more listenable. And this is something you should practice. One great thing you could do is have a reference track. Take some sort of reference track, like a track that you love, and import it in your DAW. Make sure its level of sound is it's not how fully what am I talking about? Make sure that the sound is lowered towards -6 dB, where you want your mix to be. Just try to match dynamics. Try to match the relationship between bass and mid and high. You know what I mean? Sonically, try to match it. And just also listen to music in low volumes, because if you listen music too high, like to too high volumes all the time, your ears will be more, how do you say, not resistant, but it will, like, the more longer you listen to music, the more your ears adapt, and you won't be able to make objective decisions. So listen to low volumes and take regular breaks, because the more you listen to whatever it is the case, your ears will get used to it. So also Mike Senior's book about mixing is very great and goes a lot of these things in depth. Definitely recommend that read. But yeah, when it comes to production, volume is very important. Don't over distort. It's better to make things how do you say, quieter, than making things too loud and distort itself and sound weird and all these kind of things. And I'll add one more thing, 11th tip would be just keep going, keep going, keep working, keep struggling, just keep going, don't give up. It's I know it's silly, but it's possible. Whatever you're doing, you can do what you can. Like, you can be the composer and the musician you want to be, and don't care about what anyone says. Just do what feels right to you, and don't give up, and keep going, and you will get where you want. It's not impossible. It's a continuous journey. Even now, right, myself, I've been 2 years into music, and I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. I keep looking at my music, and sometimes I'll just feel like, fuck, it's shit, it sucks, I hate it, sometimes I hate it. I generally sometimes, like, thinking, what am I doing with my life? But, I can't give up. Like, if I give up, then what that says about me and about my dreams and about the things I want to become and all these kind of things. So just don't give up. So okay, I made these. I don't know how long this video is, but I hope it was helpful. And if you want me to make any kind of more videos like that, in terms of psychology, and maybe, you know, just like me talking in front of camera kind of a thing, let me know. Yeah, so hope this was helpful, and have a great day, guys.